So we'll be on the lookout in the next few weeks for a full review from the Comptroller's office. But in the meantime, let's hear from this week's panel. Karen DeWitt is from New York State Public Radio. Bill Mahoney is from Politico. Thank you both for being here.
Nice to be here.
Karen, I want to start with you. This is a very strange budget in the fact that for the past 10 or so years, the governor has really held an iron grip on the state budget process. And that's partly because of who he is, and it's partly because of how the budget process is set up in New York State. But this year, the governor is facing all of these controversies. How did we see that play out in this year's budget process?
We saw the legislature, particularly the progressive wing of the Democrats, get a lot of things that they wanted. They had to make some compromises. They got $4.3 billion in new taxes. They wanted 7. They got a fund for excluded workers, for undocumented immigrants who couldn't get unemployment during the pandemic. And they also got, after 15 years, this campaign for fiscal equity court order finally fulfilled. That order in 2006 said that New York had to spend billions more dollars on schools. And Governor Cuomo, well, it kind of fell apart in the Great Recession. It was supposed to be funded, fell apart in the Great Recession. Governor Cuomo for years has said, no, we don't need that. We kind of fulfilled it anyway. And he really didn't want to do that. And now that is in there, and the spending is up 9%. And the governor's tried to keep it at 2% for years. So really, it's not his budget, that's for sure.
Right, and as we said in the show before this, the 9%, it doesn't sound like that much to people, but we're talking about, I think it's $18 billion in new spending. It's certainly not a small number. There is quite a lot to go through.
I haven't really seen that since the Pataki era.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's financed partly by the new taxes on the wealthy, partly by federal aid. Bill, I want to go to you because we had some interesting dynamics in the budget, not only between the governor and the legislature, but within the legislature itself. We like to think that maybe Democrats are going to be on the same page about everything in the budget process, but this year we saw a really clear divide in Democrats in the chamber. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, the fight this year largely seemed to be between very progressive young Democrats in the state legislature and more moderate, well-tenured Democrats. We saw this especially with the Excluded Workers Fund. This program set up to it wound up giving $2.1 billion in aid to undocumented immigrants who haven't been eligible for the federal relief programs that other residents in New York have been eligible for. A lot of the supporters were very gung-ho on increasing this even more than the $2.1 billion, relaxing the standards for getting the money. And we're pretty much on the warpath for a solid week, calling people who did not support increasing this by more than $1 billion, racists, xenophobes, things like that. And it was some of the most public fighting between members of the legislature I have seen during a budget season in quite some time. We saw a rally just earlier this week where they were out there calling out a couple of moderate Democrats from Westchester by name, saying that they were standing with racists, things like that. And so it was much more high tension within the legislature itself than it normally is.
It's such. Sorry,
I was just going to say
Karen.
kudos to you, Bill, for listening to all those hours of debate, because I have to say I could not listen to every hour, but that was buried in about 6 hours of debate in the assembly where they kind of slowly turned them into changing their minds on their votes.
Yeah, we did see when they were passing the big bill in this assembly a couple days ago on Wednesday, some of the socialists, the people who ran, promising to not vote for any bills that came with messages of necessity, promising to vote against a budget that didn't contain billions of dollars more of new taxes than this one had. They gave speeches talking about how awful this budget was and how they were voting no. We saw some pushback on the floor right from leadership, like Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes gave a fiery speech at one point saying part of being a legislator is learning to compromise, and you can't always get 100% of what you want, and if that's who you want to be, you're in the wrong place to get things done. And we saw pretty publicly these members just fold. There were 3 of them who said they were voting no, who later gave speeches saying that they were concerned the entire budget was going to fail if they voted no for this budget, which they said was awful, so they're flipping to yes. And it was, the members are brought into shape more publicly than you often see.
Right.
But there's often this pressure behind closed doors for members to switch their votes and support the budget, be team players, but it's rare that you see somebody cave in such a public fashion as we saw with the socialists this week.
Yeah, I think some of that's a learning curve. They realize that when you get in government, eventually you have to compromise on a few things. But you're right, we don't usually see that play out publicly. That's usually behind the scenes.
We saw the same thing in 2019, now that I'm thinking about it, after the Democrats took the majority in the Senate. And we had a lot of these very new, very progressive legislators. I'm thinking of the Alessandra Biaggis, the Julia Salazars, and they came in with a lot of energy, and they still have that energy. But I think that they learned very quickly that just because they share a certain set of values, they're not going to be able to influence 30 other members to align with those values.
Yeah, but they're still not happy with that, and they are still trying. And I think that this really energizes people, like the ones that you just mentioned, the more liberal progressive senators after this budget that came out. They're thinking, this is just the beginning. We're going to do more, because they still had a number of tax increases that they wanted that they didn't get. So I think we're really going to see that. They're definitely energized now.
I think next year is just going to be critical politically, because we have the race for governor, which Andrew Cuomo may or may not be in.
And will he be governor in a year? I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, right? Yeah.
Exactly. He says he's going, well, I don't really know. I don't want to say. He may or may not run. We might have a new candidate as a Democrat for governor. They may be more to the left. That might influence primaries in the legislative level against some of these long-standing establishment Democrats. And I think that makes even these next few months even more critical for them, because the session ends in June. There are limited weeks left to get things done. Can these establishment Democrats really put themselves out there and say, don't primary me, I'm doing really good things? Karen, that brings me to, this budget is so packed with so many different things. What are they going to do for the next 2 months?
Well, there are a couple things actually on the agenda, and one of them is making takeout alcohol permanent. Granted, not a big deal, but a big deal to restaurants. There's also this talk of this Adult Victims Act, based on the Child Victims Act, that this would be for sexual assault and sexual harassment survivors, that they could file civil suit even if the statute of limitations has run out, which would put Governor Cuomo, given his current troubles, in a very awkward position of, does he support that bill? Does he sign it? But yeah, there's not a lot of big things left, I don't think.
There's a good chance that the talk will come pretty far away from just standard legislative stuff. Like, in theory, at some point in the next couple months, we will need to start having a conversation about throwing out our masks and reopening everything that's been closed. And a lot of this COVID recovery, kind of walking back from the stuff that was put into place last year, that's going to be talked about more and more. And at the same time, I do think this talk about impeachment is probably not going away, and there is a good chance that come June, that will be on the table more than it has been in the past couple of weeks as we've been focused on the budget. But that being said, because of that, I would not be surprised if Governor Cuomo comes up with some out of left field major new policy proposals, so that way the talk turns back to that rather than impeachment.
And then we also have the Attorney General's report on the alleged sexual harassment and 2 federal investigations. So the outcome of those is really going to determine a lot of what goes on for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I got to tell you, now that I think about it, this is the first time in this episode of New York Now that we have mentioned the impeachment of the governor. And the investigation is ongoing. And we don't really know a timeline, but hopefully we'll see an update in the next few weeks. But we do have to leave it there. Karen DeWitt from the New York State Public Radio, Bill Mahoney from Politico, thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you back here next week with the latest. Thanks for watching this week's New York Now. Have a great week and be well.